And when you think about it, this silly game is played by global warming deniers, deliberately blurring the line between probability and certainty when they actually belong in the same moral category. So those scientists, progressives, rational thinkers who present scenarios of likely outcomes are ridiculed as hysterical fearmongers. The determination to bring about peace because the alternative is unthinkable is dismissed for failing to provide solid, concrete, foolproof evidence. Even Ralph Waldo Emerson, back in 1838, said that for projects of peace to appear visionary to great numbers of sensible men should be laughable. Peace is not visionary, but essential. Don't we still today regard peace as a remote and naive concept? Emerson warns not to laugh at those who dream of peace. The logic is this, and he spells it out. He says, peace is what is best for the world, and what is best for the world is true, and truth must prevail over all obstruction and opposition. Wow, this was Emerson's conclusion in 1838. Haven't we learned anything since then? John F. Kennedy was probably onto something when he addressed the graduates of West Point in 1961. He knew the ground had shifted in rules for war and that the class would struggle to defeat insurgent enemies. He said, "Where there is a visible enemy to fight in open combat, the answer is not so difficult. Many serve, all applaud, and the tide of patriotism runs high. But when there is a long, slow struggle with no immediately visible foe, your choice will seem hard indeed." The lessons wrought from the jungles of Vietnam, where satisfying victory could never be accomplished, failed to take hold of our psyches as we pursued counterinsurgency measures in the morass of the Middle East. There simply are no victories to be won. Sure, we can blow Baghdad away with military might and shock and awe, but then the insurgency begins, inspired by radical Islam or simple nationalism or just revenge. When will we learn the lessons of young men and women scarred by war? On September 3rd, 2010, the armored vehicle driven by Sergeant Shane Savage, who commanded troops near Kandahar, Afghanistan, was blown apart by a roadside bomb. His head hit the ceiling so hard that his helmet cracked. His left foot was pinned against the dashboard, crushing 24 bones. Sergeant Savage returned home 8 days later with the signature injuries of the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. And they are, as we know, severe concussion, post-traumatic stress, and chronic pain. And what follows is the familiar arc of abuse, dependence, despair, most often ending in suicide. Sergeant Savage's wife rescued him just in time before he took his own life, and now joins him in fighting a dependency on pain medication and a very deep depression. Are there no lessons we must learn as we enter one war after another and another? Statistics tell us that the death toll, that's the death toll from Iraq and Afghanistan, stands at about 6,000. These are the soldiers we honor and to whom we pay homage on Memorial Day, along with their comrades from the war before this one, and the war before that one, and the one before then, and going back. The endless list of casualties who died fighting wars that are classified as not winnable. What do we do on Memorial Day? What do we do with statistics of a different sort? What do we do with statistics revealing that between the years 2003 and 2011, on average, 22 vets killed themselves every day? 22 vets committed suicide every day between those 8 years. What do we do with that? The physical war may be over, but the internal war just begun. We fail to absorb the lesson that soldiers can't leave their soft humanity on the sidelines when they enter the front lines of battle. Levi Derby hanged himself in his grandmother's garage. His mother said he was haunted by an Afghan child's death. He handed the girl a bottle of water, and when she came forward to take it, she stepped on a landmine. 2 years ago, President Obama signed an executive order calling for stronger suicide prevention. $107 million of new funding for better mental health treatment for vets with PTSD and traumatic brain injuries. And yet, our VA hospitals, of all institutions imaginable, the VA hospitals, fail to honor our soldiers by falsifying documents to cover the fact that possibly hundreds have died while waiting for treatment. Now, some call it a scandal. I call it shame. War. From the prospect of global annihilation with the push of a button, to one soldier who can't stand the memory of a little girl reaching for a bottle of water. War in every guise and manifestation must be abolished. Lessons must finally be learned. In some way, and I really can't explain how, in some way I try to touch the spirit of fallen soldiers from countless wars on Memorial Day. And I want to share my sympathies for their lives cut so brutally short. And I guess they now understand how little sense their sacrifice made, because the world remains constantly in this utter state of madness. We settle international and civil disputes in the same brutal manner as always. And young men and women continue to have the promise of a full life vanquished in the illusion of just and virtuous wars. And so somehow I try to relate to them that the world, even after their loss, their sacrifice, I would say the world still swirls about in tremendous moral confusion. And I know that they probably felt that they were going to put an end to all wars. That they were going to put an end to nations resorting to violence. That their deaths would teach us that we must find alternative means to settle our differences. The moms and the dads and the siblings and friends who mourn these senseless losses, they must somehow cry out, enough. And it's their voices that ought to suffice in persuading those with the power to declare war to seek other avenues of resolution. Our Undersecretary of State wants to bring on a new generation to continue the struggle for peace. The struggle for peace, we can call it the struggle for common sense. Bring on a whole new generation. I guess we have no choice. But will they be more effective than the generations before them? We can only hope and promise them our total and complete commitment in making war obsolete. Make war obsolete, if not by next year's Memorial Day, then perhaps the Memorial Day after that, or the one after that, or the one after that, or some Memorial Day in the future.